Welcome to another episode of Question It, where a question is posed and we share our perspectives. I'm Kevin Strauss, the host of Question It and founder of Uchi, a simple social app built around one belief that everything feels possible when you know someone has your back every day. Today's guest is Sheyenne Kraemer. Hi, Sheyenne. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, hello, and thank you for having me, Kevin. I am Sheyenne Kraemer, and I am a co-creator of something called the Unity for Wellness and Peace system. We've been building the system for 25 years, and it's all about creating a foundation where more people can get engaged in being able to create health, wealth, and peace for all on planet Earth. No small task, definitely 25 years worth of work.
That is for sure. Gosh, we could just talk all about that, or even just talking about peace. We could have a whole episode just on that.
True.
But for Question It, we are going to have that one question that we talked about very briefly, had a moment to think about. So today's question is list 5 things, or maybe 3 to 5, that are truly in your stretch zone. So we have a comfort zone, a stretch zone, and a panic zone. So list 5 things that are truly in your stretch zone. And you'll go first. I'm going to give you total silence to speak. And then I'll go when you're done. And then we can talk about the whole thing. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. You're up.
All all right. Well, and I'm not sure it'll come up as 5. It might be more, it might be less, but I can tell you, I know where I need to start. And this is probably a very good thing for me because there's definitely things that are a stretch for me to talk about. And yet, this whole system that I've built is absolutely based on things that people don't like to talk about. So it's, for one, a lot of people know my husband ran for governor of North Carolina a number of years ago. And what we learned during that about the corruption in our systems, people don't necessarily want to hear some of that. They want to keep their own ideas about what our political system really is all about. And I hate to tell people, but it's not what you think. So, and that's from personal experience, but it is hard to come out here and talk about because everybody's so polarized. There's so much, well, if you're not thinking like me, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, no, we need to erase all of that. Very, very difficult for me to put myself out there in that space. But I know this is part of where I need to go. In kind of a related space is also the belief that I have, and I'm going to call it a knowing, not a belief, that I'm not into telling people they have to believe in any kind of religion. But I believe that one of the core problems we have on planet Earth right now is that we are not talking about whatever higher power you might understand, uh, and incorporating them in our lives. And I think there is a place for science and religion to be able to come together, and most people don't believe that. And so again, that's something that's really hard for me to talk about, because I think if we don't, whatever the God of your understanding is, if we're not working on putting that back into our society, we are going to continue to have more chaos, more violence, more killings. It's just going to continue because nobody thinks there's anything to worry about in terms of, well, I can do whatever I want. So that's those are 2 related pieces that are huge stretches for me. On the other side of the fence, if I look at what are things that are difficult for me to do, I probably got a couple there that are also related. Big challenge for me is to ask for help. very, very difficult. I get very much caught in feeling like I have to be very independent in a lot of what I'm doing. People might think I'm crazy for saying this, but I do believe that I receive information from somewhere about what needs to be built and what needs to happen. And so I'm very protective of that. And as a result, I'm trying to make sure that whatever I saw, whatever I've been given, that I'm doing it. And so I don't have enough oftentimes trust of other people to come and help put that together. And that's a big stretch that I have to change right now, is because I know my sure everything about wellness and peace is about building teams. And if you're going to build teams, you've got to give up control of things. You've got to allow more people to speak, allow more people to engage, allow more people to be actively involved. And when you've spent 25 years trying to protect a vision and build it, it is so much of a challenge to let go of some of that control and just say, you know what? It can't be all about me. It's got to move away from me. It's got to engage more people. It's got to include the people who have similar vision, similar mindset. And yeah, so that's a stretch for me right now, is just being able to A, ask for the help, and B, let go of the control, so that I can receive the help. And that's probably the other piece, is just being able to receive. Because if you have trouble asking, it's oftentimes very hard to receive. And that's a stretch. I'm working on it, and I will continue to work on it. I believe that's what I needed to communicate.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a lot of vulnerability, actually, that you just shared. So thank you for that. Man, I could go on and on about all three of them. I wrote them down just so I have a quick little note, but it starts bringing up, like, similar kind of challenges, but just a lot of curiosity, like about the religion and higher power and God. And I've got some really strong views on that for myself, but I know, I mean, I know you well enough to know that you're coming from such a place with such a big heart, that I know it's not about, like, your way is the only way. It's really about bringing us all together, which is the ultimate goal of peace, for
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
So wow. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about a lot of that stuff. Oh my gosh, because I could just ask you so many questions just off the top of my head. But true to the format, I'm going to share a couple of mine. I may not get to 5 either, because mine kind of overlap as well, for my own being, not with what you shared, but for my own stretch zone. So I'm going to go share mine, and then we'll get back to yours and mine, and the whole thing together. That's the goal. Okay. So the first item that I wrote down for my stretch zone is making videos. So I want to make more videos for my YouTube channel. I have hundreds of ideas listed in lots of different places of video topics. I am not at a loss for topics, but making the video, talking to the camera, and getting it out there is still in my stretch zone. And I've posted like 140 videos on my YouTube channel. And this podcast is, on the YouTube channel, in the podcast area of YouTube. But it's still hard for me to really be visible, is really what it boils down to. Being truly visible. That is my stretch zone. That's one part of my stretch zone. um, and and things that relate to that um, are like a stretch zone for me. As much as I love it, is being on stage in front of a big crowd of people, but being on stage by myself. Like right now, I don't feel very much in my stretch zone because we're here together. You're right here with me in video, so I don't feel like I'm just putting myself out there by myself. But that is a stretch zone for me. So the real visibility. Something else that I wrote down because it popped into my head, and I'm going to share it as a stretch zone, is being tested. So, like school testing. Like, I love school, I love learning, but I don't want to be tested. I know the material, I know the subject matter, usually quite well if it's something I'm really interested in, but I don't want to be tested on it. Like formally tested. And maybe again that could go back to the judgment thing, which I have an issue with. So there's that. And then I think the last, well, another area for me that's in my stretch zone, and I'm going to pull two together, is promotion. So it's selling myself, but it's also hard sales in general. So selling of like business, so Uchi, my business, or health and wellness. Um, Selling, I'm still working on. I mean, this is like ongoing. Um, it's a stretch for me to really try to sell and promote and be like, here's something I can provide of value, give me a lot of money for it, that kind of a thing. So sales of myself and business is still definitely in the stretch zone for me. And then the last thing I wrote down, that's in my stretch zone, which is kind of fun, I think, is total spontaneity. Not that I have to have everything completely in control, but I'm not just gonna like, today's Friday. I'm not gonna like get a plane ticket for Monday and, fly to Idaho and hang out for a week. Like, I am not that kind of a spontaneous person, So real spontaneity is in my stretch zone. I'm not a control freak, but I'm also not super spontaneous. Okay, so I don't know how many that is or how that goes, but that's what I wrote down on my little list. So thank you for giving me that space.
Absolutely.
So where should we go from here? Now it's like open for discussion. Um, I'd love to ask first about um, the corruption, the politics, or the polarization. How does that show up? Like, not that you have to like dig into the details of it, but what's the big friction for you in that?
Mm.
Because that's your
My husband,
stretch zone to talk about and all, right?
it is absolutely. Because my husband ran as an independent.
Mhm.
And the reason for that was because we believe there's good in both camps that need to be put together to create new solutions. And what we experienced, and what was just so frustrating and downright horrifying, was that both sides of the fence were willing to stomp on the solutions that we were trying to put out there because neither side wanted solutions. They just want to keep playing the game.
Oh gosh, and that's the real frustration because nothing's moving forward, and both sides. And I do happen to agree with you like fully on the both sides thing, and we can't get to even a compromise of solution. We're just so caught up in the fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we
Yes.
don't want solutions. We just rather keep fighting.
Well, because that allows everybody to maintain their positions. And I'm like, you know what? My personal belief is you all should be wanting to work yourselves out of a job instead of figuring out how to maintain them.
I mean, I love the idea. Like imagine if a doctor was trying to work themselves out of a job. And the funny thing is that's never going to happen, right? And I think the same is true about government, right? Like a large group of people needs some, leadership, guidance, support, as a collective. So we're going to need government, because if it's every person for themselves, or every family for themselves, or every tribe for themselves, then we're just back thousands of years, and we're just killing. Or not thousands of years, we're back into the 1800s, where if your neighbor pisses you off, you kill them, and that's it. Like, game done.
What's happening now?
Well, right? Like, I mean, yes.
That's where we are. We have
We are.
transgressed.
Yeah, we are. We're back to like the Wild West, where you can kill someone, or some agency can kill someone, and there's no accountability, there's no repercussions, there's nothing. And that's literally the mid 1800s, So, but back to your point about the fighting or holding your ground, not even trying to get a solution, then everybody loses.
Absolutely. And we are. I mean, we are all losing as a result. And to me, the fact that so many people think there is, a right and a wrong in all of this is the illusion that we're living under. And it is.
Because, I don't know where the expression came from, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, which is terrible expression. But I'll have to look that one up. But, there are so many different ways to solve any given problem. There doesn't have to be one right way or one wrong way. Or even like with the religion thing, there's dozens of different religions around the world, and different belief systems, and different beliefs about a god or gods or whatever. And it's okay. We can all still get along. You do your thing, I'll do my thing.
Exactly. I'm there. In fact, I love the Baha'is and the vision that they carry, because they believe that every prophet on the planet came with a piece of a divine curriculum. And you can't actually understand spirituality unless you have some kind of a knowledge of all the pieces.
You got to put it all together. So we all need each other in order to move forward and really to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're not surviving very well right now.
Yeah, we're barely, like we're existing. We're not thriving. We're struggling. I mean, we see it all, the healthcare, or getting jobs and paying rent, paying for food. I mean, these are basic needs to live, because if you're dead, nothing matters, right? Like, that's the end of that. So in this plane of existence anyway, we need to, we're just trying to survive. And if we're not doing it together, it's so much harder. And we're not doing it together, and it is so much harder.
Yep. Cannot argue that point. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I happen to agree with you on all of that. But so can you tell me a little bit more about the stretch part for you of any of those areas, asking for help, or what is it that's the friction for you, or or when you bring up the idea of God and religion, is there a fear that someone's just going to argue and fight on with you on it, or why is it harder to bring those conversations up?
Well, I really, because, and again, these are all kind of intertwined because
Mm-hmm.
our politics has made all of that a major source for fighting and people and violence. And I mean, that's where it all becomes incredibly scary because
Okay.
I mean, Charlie Kirk was murdered because of his beliefs. I mean,
Right.
those kinds of
Right.
things make it very difficult to speak your truth. And if you can't speak your truth, then it's hard to find the people who can understand what you're talking about, who can kind of like we are, give space to be able to hear and listen and be able to figure out what's their piece of the puzzle. Because that's my ultimate thing. I believe we all have a
Yeah.
piece in the super puzzle for health, wealth, and peace. And I want
Right.
more people creating their piece of the super puzzle.
Yeah. So even just bringing up the topic can instantly, especially with how things have gotten so boiled, or it's always at a
Mhm,
rolling boil now, just
mhm.
bring up a topic that you want to work on and help improve in the world, just bringing it up can instantly make your world and your existence unsafe.
Exactly.
And that's really scary. I
It
mean, like
is.
flat out.
It is. Yeah.
Because if someone's willing to kill you for for your your view, then I mean, or your belief, like
Mhm,
Holocaust,
mhm. Yeah,
then then
absolutely.
then everybody's losing. And then to maintain that, whoever's got the power there to maintain that, it's not like a walk in the park for them either, you
No,
know?
definitely not.
Yeah. So
Definitely
bringing
not.
up those kinds of topics, yeah, I mean, that is a stretch, right?
Oh,
I
it
get that.
is. Trust me, when if I had realized 25 years ago what my path was going to look like into the future and what I was going to have to be engaged in, I'd still be hiding in a cave somewhere.
Right? Right? Because you're like, I'm not even going to go near that. But since you have gone on that 25-year journey now, your stretch zone, I'm assuming has grown,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yes,
And there's
yes.
still more to go. I mean, there's always, more to go, right? I mean, there's
There
always things
is.
that make us uncomfortable. But if no
That
one, oh, this is really interesting too. But if we never push our stretch zone, I learned this really came to mind a lot during COVID for me. If we don't ever push our stretch zone and we only stay in our comfort zone, I have found that that comfort zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller,
mm, yeah.
right? So
Yep.
then it's really hard to push on those walls of the comfort zone to the stretch zone because but it's uncomfortable to go to the stretch zone,
True.
right? Because comfort is comfortable and stretch is uncomfortable. But the more we dip our toe little by little to the stretch, which you've been doing this for 25 years already, your comfort zone's probably gotten a lot big. I mean, there's probably conversations you can have now that were really hard 25 years ago, but now no big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I'm pushing on, I hope some of the last pieces that still need to stretch a little bit more and just, if I believe I'm here for a reason to help create this, what was it? Somebody called it the other day, circumventing the hierarchy. That's what my system is designed to do. Circumvent the hierarchy.
That's probably why we connected a couple years back, because we're sort of like-minded like that. Like,
oh.
And that's what the original question it was about, is questioning the hierarchy, questioning beliefs, questioning norms, So you're circumventing the hierarchy to like break down the hierarchy
and create change from the bottom up instead of the top down.
Well, and it seems like maybe you have an example of that. It seems like things last longer or have a better foundation when they are from the bottom up rather than the top down. Does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Does anything come up for you with that?
I was trained in what they used to call quality circles in corporate America. And the beauty of that was that they push the problem solving down to the bottom levels, where people who were engaged day to day with problems could come together and come up with ideas to solve them, and then just pitch them to the management saying, will you give us your okie dokie to go do this? And that's the same process that I am working on bringing into our communities.
Yeah. And what was that called in corporate America?
Quality circles, or continuous improvement teams, or corrective action teams. They had all kinds of names for them.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I haven't heard to maybe a corrective action team, but it's still, my experience in corporate America is it's top down, but doesn't it make sense to ask the people who are in the trenches? They've probably got ideas. I think Bob Chapman, I think, is the name. He's a CEO of a big conglomerate, and he wrote a book called Everybody Matters. Have you heard of that?
I haven't, but that's good.
He's, he runs this super duper many billion dollar organization, blah, blah, blah. And he's all about like, look, if you don't take care of your people, every single person in the organization, you're not going to have an organization, so everybody matters, yes. And what he did, like, he had a company that was going to like have to fold, or he doesn't have to do a massive layoff. But what he implemented was this whole, instead of firing, we're not going to fire anybody, but we're going to, everybody's going to take like an extra 2 weeks off per year, or whatever, this year, next year, without pay. Everybody. And if you have extra time, then maybe you'll take an extra 3 days so that this other person can work those other 3 days and they still get paid. But we're all in this together, and we all do it together. And by not having to lay off anybody, but valuing everybody, then the company ended up turning around and totally thriving. And then the loyalty of those employees was like through the roof. Because everybody was being taken care of.
Yeah. And heard and considered, and all of that. Absolutely all of that. Yeah. And I know, Kevin, we could talk all day because we've come close to it in the past. I think I have another meeting I gotta go to.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here and this little experiment with me. So we'll end it at that. That's another episode of Question It. So until next time, peace, love, and connect.
Thank you much.